And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, on Antigua Shipyard, and down at the bottom right-hand corner of the map, we have our red Protoss player from FXO Open Esports. It's Choya. And his opponent here in the top left-hand corner is our blue Protoss player who's won 2 games in a row, just 1 game away from sending us to an ace match. It's StarTale Squirtle.
All right. Protoss versus Protoss, huh? Wondering the build that Choya's got prepared here. This is, of all the matchups, I've got to say, Choya could definitely take this. If you have, let's say, you know, you're a coach, you've got to know builds, you've got to know play styles of all the players, essentially. You have to have a very comprehensive understanding of the game. And so he could easily have thrown himself in here, knowing that Squirtle has certain tendencies. And what would be cool from Squirtle is if we see a really kind of bizarre, not Squirtle-esque game. Because, I mean, Choya could really have a plan here. He could have a plan of attack, and it could definitely succeed.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen Choya's PvP terribly recently, I should say, since it's really stabilized into the longer expand game now. So I wonder if it's going to be something of the one-base variety. He used to be very fond of Stargate play, Dark Templar, things like that.
Is Choya.
Well, not even just, I mean, Stargate play is not even necessarily as much of a cheese, but just more of an, you know...
Yeah, I just mean...
I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, Choya does do that from time to time. You are correct, and he has proxy gated before, even on this stream. So we'll see what he does now, though. I don't mean to count him out. I really don't. It sounds like I'm being a little harsh on him, but you know, Choya certainly has a lot of players he could have thrown in here. Chose to put in himself, and that's always a very difficult situation to be in as a coach, because then you almost have even more pressure on you.
Yeah, definitely the case, but in the same respect, not everyone can win all the time. And so you can really have this feeling, I want to say the Lucky feeling, where Lucky, you know, I feel like Lucky could have beaten Squirtle if that was, you know, a long, real, drawn-out match, or if things had been pretty standard. But, you know, that 11 pool really mixed things up, and against a 1-base, I mean, it kind of just decided the game in many regards, especially the follow-up and how that went. But here we are, Squirtle. He's making a Zealot right now. Choya still making no units whatsoever. He's going for actually a very quick second gateway here and grabbing his second gas.
That's right. So could be staring down some sort of a 3-stalker opening into Blink Stalkers. Pretty popular on this map still. Coming up for Squirtle, though. Just 1 gate, 1 gas, and we'll see what he does afterwards.
Going to grab that second one right now. The probe is sitting there, but he seemed a little preoccupied by that probe slipping into his main base, actually. Which Choya's going to get a nice little scout, and did he manage to scout the second gas timing there?
Yes, he did.
Okay. All right, gets out before the Stalker spawns as well. Nice scout there, and I think he's actually out of vision entirely, so he can put that probe wherever he wants.
Yeah, it looks like robotics facilities being placed down too. Would have been really cool to see Choya maybe duck away this probe down to the corner or something like that and come back in for another delayed scout, as Squirtle has completely shifted gears now. Choya, in fact, going for that 3-stalker build. We'll see how he transitions out of this. Has plenty of gas to go for a Twilight Council more momentarily if he wants to put up those Blink Stalkers.
Now, this is not the strongest map for Blink Stalkers, but not the weakest one either. It's a pretty short distance in between your natural ramp, so you can defend your natural pretty well. Sorry? Oh, wow.
4-gate Robo for Squirtle.
Okay, so that changes things entirely. There's no point in talking about what I was going to discuss, so... well, it's all about defensive immortals, what I was talking about, Kevin, and that's not what we're going to see at all.
No. And, all right, well, Squirtle's going to get out on the map pretty quickly. We'll see what he can do here in just a second. So we want to make everyone aware, we were just handed a note that Twitch is going to do some upgrades pretty soon to their servers, to their service. So if there's any sort of glitches on stream or anything like that, certainly try to you know, try to reconnect, and hopefully you won't see any disruption in service. But just to let you guys know. In any case,
breaking news.
Breaking news.
Twitch getting new software updates
from the IPTL.
What?
Let's see here. FXO does see the, Choya does see this pylon here, and he's going to start picking away at it right away, but that is going to allow Squirtle to start moving some units off to the right-hand side. Now, Choya is doing a very nice job here holding this off, but he needs another sentry ASAP. He also needs these other gateways to pop up in just a second. He does manage to pick off the pylon, though, and successfully defends up at the front, so a very nice hold from Choya.
That Warp Prism is getting ready. Oh, that's... he didn't make a Warp Prism. He didn't...
Just an observer.
He didn't make a Warp Prism?
He's going to make a Blink follow-up to this, actually.
And he has a second Is that a second Robo?
What's up?
Wait,
no. You're on Choya's side now.
Oh, I'm looking at the production. Wow, I'm like
Yeah.
dyslexic with my colors right now. I'm so confused.
That's okay. No, so we have a Twilight Council coming up for Squirtle in addition to Immortals. He could warp in a lot more units too and decide to go for a Blink Stalker all in after this. Choi, on the other hand, though, has a lot of Stalkers. He actually already has Blink almost finished and is adding on the Robo. So whereas he's going to have a lot more Stalkers and a lot more mobility for now, Squirtle's going to have the more powerful defense because he'll already have those Immortals added in.
And another advantage for Squirtle is that he has the information. Choya knows next to nothing right now. He just saw a couple of pylons come forward and get canceled, and now he's going to be heading out with these Stalkers, trying to get a picture of what's going on for Squirtle.
Looks like Choi is just waiting for these for this Observer to be done so we can start blinking into the main. There is a lot of cliff line to abuse with that Observer, so Blink Stalkers can be very mobile in that regard.
Definitely. And now I guess we can be at the point which I wanted to discuss earlier, and that's that if you take a look at the natural, the Nexus is really, really close to the ramp, so it's pretty easy on this map to defend with your Immortals. You know, you don't have to, you're not going to get absolutely torn apart on such as on maps like Shakuras or maybe a little bit of Metalopolis, a Cloud Kingdom, a huge map in that regard, because the main is just so far away from the natural ramp, excuse me, so far away from that mineral line.
Okay, well, Choya's got a lot of units here in the middle of the map. It's not as intense of a unit composition, though, as Squirtle has, and Choi actually just got a beautiful scout on pretty much all of
I think he missed the Twilight Council, though. Can we actually get a peek at that?
I think you're right, but he missed the Twilight Council, but he saw the unit composition. He saw Zealots, Sentries, Stalkers, Immortals, pretty much saw everything that his opponent had.
Yeah. All right, going to be getting ready to blink up here in just a second, and he does want to see that Twilight Council, though, because Squirtle's still on one base, so for all he knows, he could be going for Colossus right now. One base Colossus, always a possibility, especially if you feel behind, which Choya could feel like Squirtle feels like he's behind because of those canceled pylons earlier on.
Right.
Like one base Colossus is what you do if you are behind in a PvP.
Okay, well, Choya has successfully split these units up a little bit so we can just kind of duck around to the back and try and blink in here in a bit. Expansion's coming out of both players as we start to stabilize just a little while, though, but here is where it's going to be annoying because if Choya decides to blink into units up here, Squirtle's going to have to react. At the same time, Choya can come over here and try and deny the natural.
Now, Choya does have his Nexus a little bit further along than Squirtle's, but Squirtle has the Immortal count in his favor by quite a little bit of a margin here. Stalker is going to go down. That was a little sloppy for Choya, unfortunately.
Yeah, loses one Stalker right away. Does take some of the punch out of his army, especially as Squirtle keeps improving his forces back at home. But, Choi is starting to increase his Immortal count now. The second one is just about to pop, and he is actually going to blink into the main. Unfortunately, already being surrounded by a couple of units there. And in fact, the Observer gets picked off. He tries to then duck into the natural and do just what we were talking about before and pick off that Nexus, but he can't do it. Now he's being chased down.
And he's in a tough spot here. Pylon also going to get picked off, and Squirtle is having a very good match so far.
Okay, so this is a rough spot for Choya initially. Look at that, actually being blinked directly on top of. That is a very risky proposition for Squirtle, even if he thought his position was really good. Does it again and picks off another Stalker there. Very cool stuff out of Squirtle, and finally has his natural up and running.
He's going for a very fast third and fourth gas right now, and this will translate to an extremely fast Colossus count. Now, Choi, on the other hand, does he have any tech buildings being constructed right now? Is he working on that?
No, just the gateway for now. So Squirtle is ahead in economy. He's behind in raw forces for now, and Choya's moment to strike. I don't want to say it is this moment because Defender's Advantage is going to play into Squirtle's hands, but things are going to get out of hand for him very soon if he doesn't do any sort of disruptive damage.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Zealot in the... what? How did that get in there?
I guess off of this pylon. There you go.
Really?
Interesting.
It's pretty crazy. So Choi at this point, guys, as you were saying, Kevin, he needs to get damage in. It's going to hopefully happen shortly. He's got 4 Immortals, quite a count there, but he's definitely down on the Stalkers. And Squirrel's going to start pumping out the Colossus here in... Wait, didn't he already...
Oh, did he cancel the Robotics Bay when the Zealot came through? Or... Yeah, so he actually has to rebuild it right now. So all of a sudden, Squirtle's advantages are pretty well gone. That Zealot was able to force that to stop. In addition, killed 2 workers. So now the worker count is pretty similar. Choi actually with a little bit of an advantage. So things are a little bit flipped on their head.
Yeah, slight Stalker advantage, but that's about it for Squirtle at this stage now, which is just massive. He would be, I mean, he'd have a Colossus at this point, and Extended Thermal Lance about a third of the way done, possibly. So Choya is going to be very happy with that decision, and is now going to be asserting his map control at the Xel'Naga Tower.
That's he has to watch out that he doesn't get too far, though, because of his opponent's inclusion of Blink as well. If he decides to aggressively move up there, he could get blinked right on top of and lose a couple of Stalkers on the way out.
Yeah.
But Squirtle's position is still good, but not quite as dominant as it was before.
Yeah.
Now, if these Stalkers, like I said, if these guys get too far, that would be a real issue for Choya, though, because most of the meat of his forces are back at home.
All right, so right now Choya is making a very big separate movement from what we're seeing from Squirtle, besides the Stalkers blinking into the base, which aren't seen by that Stalker. Guys, Choya's going for 2 Robos, and he is now making 2 Colossus at a time. Squirtle's actually just dropped his second Robo as well, and a couple of probes going to be taken out here. He does not want to lose these Stalkers, though. Well, maybe if he gets enough probes, it'll be worth it. Looks like he's going to opt to retreat instead, but he had to blink over the Stalkers, and that buys him a lot of time. Oh, free Stalker on the low ground. Gonna be able to pick that up. Now he'd be able to blink out. Yes, does get away.
Loses 3 of his Stalkers, though, and he did end up killing a few workers, but basically our players are tied now.
Yeah, Squirtle shouldn't be able to make this push work.
Yeah.
Because of the extra Robo and Colossus.
Right. But if you actually take a look at things, it looks like, oh yeah, Choya's going to have 3 Colossi here in just a bit, along with that Extended Thermal Lance. I really like Squirtle's decision to go for a Forge, though. Oh, he's actually going to catch a few Zealots here out in the open. Very nice pickup for him.
Yeah, Choya expected him to be attacking.
Yeah, the Forge, though, is such a big differentiator between these two players. Upgrades can become critical in those massive War of the Worlds style Colossus engagements.
Yeah. They really can. Now, Choya is getting a full view of everything with this Observer. Sees the third, and he's going to reciprocate here in just a second and drop down his own, as we can see a probe in position. But simultaneously, Choya's going to be moving out on the map. His Forge is near completion, and he's going to start working his way towards Archons now.
And what's actually floating around looks like it's just an Observer for now, which has pretty much picked up on everything, and it's actually going to go for a second peek around the map.
Oh, and he saw that Forge just finished, so Squirtle can actually perfectly time attacks. No, I mean, he's not going to know the chronos, but he will know that his +1 is going to be finished substantially before Choya's. Whereas if he had showed up, Kevin, 5-10 seconds later and +1 was being researched, he'd have no idea how far along it was.
Right.
So for all he knows, there could be a small window or something, but he knows the relative exact timing here, and that's really, really important for Squirtle, actually.
And to build on top of that, his opponent's army is out in the middle of the map, and Squirtle, with these 2 Colossi, is now basically going to be on the same amount that his opponent has. So he has the ability to strike and do some damage, kind of while the iron is hot. He's still up by 6 Stalkers, too. So if, let's say, he would come up, engage the Colossi, and they would start to move away because they're getting low, he has those few extra units to be able to blink up on top of those.
If that was a probe, might have been going for big attacks. Stalker is going to scout the third here for Squirtle, but Kevin, I agree with you completely. If Choya engages in the middle of the map here when Squirtle has +1 now, if Squirtle can force an engagement, he could easily win this game.
And he actually sees canceled buildings off to the right. The Stalker is actually proven to be very, very valuable. Gets a little damage in, kills 1 probe before it eventually dies.
And the Colossus are in the middle right now. Choya falling back. Doesn't want to fight until that +1 is complete. Stalker's blinking forward. And we're going to have 1 Stalker fall for Choya, which is a huge victory already for Squirtle, who we were saying with that upgrade advantage may have been able to take it there. Now he's up a Colossus.
Colossus dies there for Choya, and he's trying to circle in with a couple of Zealots, but unfortunately for him, it's already picked up on by a Colossus. Colossus will dispatch of that Zealot quite easily. A second Zealot trying to swing in and do some damage. It's gotten a couple of kills, but nothing too much. The big thing, though, what it did is it brought this army back home, and Choya needed that to delay and allow further Colossi to come up, allow for his +1 weapons to finish, for his Dark Shrine even to get added on.
And he's had a lot of success with warping in units at pylons, both with the third and also with that bottom left expansion he's been getting in some harass. So if they're Dark Templar instead, and Squirtle, is posturing out in the middle of the map, maybe able to get a decent amount of damage with some DTs.
That's a lot of Colossi on each side, and Squirtle has actually taken an advantage. Now, he still knows that because if you've actually paid attention, he has been, let's see, where's his forge? Yeah, he's been chrono boosting this the entire time because he knows that that's the real advantage that he has. You pointed it out perfectly before. He got in, he saw the exact time of the of his opponent's forge. He knew that he had the upgrade advantage, and he wants to be able to continue with that as he moves forward.
DT's going in. I actually don't like this decision so much because Squirtle's army is not out on the map, and looks like Choi doesn't either. He's going to wait with these, and oh, nope, now he's going in. Well, there's a cannon, and there's Colossi, and those DTs are going to die right away, but at the same time, some being warped into the main base.
Yeah, so the DTs that were here over at the third aren't doing anything, but the ones that are inside of the main actually are racking up a couple of kills at the very least.
Yeah, not enough to compensate for their cost. Nice around here from Squirtle, and I mean, he's going to lose a Stalker, maybe a Probe or two, but even warps the pilot almost. Oh, that's actually a cannon, but yeah, not a lot of damage done. In the main, I mean, how many kills does it actually have? I think it killed a pylon.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2 probes, but...
Still pretty good workers killed, though.
It's a good harass.
If you notice, Squirtle wasn't actually reproducing those probes, though. He was taking the opportunity with the bank that he had to just warp in more units. And so inadvertently, that did economic damage. It's going to be harder for Squirtle to reproduce his forces, but he already has more of a bank than his opponent. And add on top of that, he just made his army stronger.
Yeah, he's going... Well... I mean, if Squirtle goes for this attack, this is actually a little weird of a timing because his +3 is only like a quarter of the way done, so he won't be able to have that advantage. 2 is about to finish here for Choi in just about 3 seconds, and when it does, he's going to be equal on upgrades, but a nice army size here for Squirtle and quite the concave. Choya, uh-oh.
Yeah, this could be really dangerous for him. He has to fall back, gives up the middle of the map, and we'll see if Squirtle wants to press this because he could move into a really nice concave for his opponent if he goes too far, but he's actually spreading out his Colossi for now. We see the Zealots just evaporate in the middle. One thing, though, an additional round of Immortals were actually made for Squirtle, and we'll see if that makes a difference. It looks like it has as he's pushing his opponent back, and the Immortals are actually getting in some pretty good shots, picking up the Colossi one by one. A 40 supply advantage now for StarTale Squirtle, and increasing as he continues to move up.
That was actually the point I was going to make earlier, Kevin, when you mentioned those Dark Templar killing off a lot of the, a lot of the probes. You know, PvP so often in the late stages of the game, as these Zealots get cleaned up, comes down to just a single engagement. It's not often, you know, it's like it's not so back and forth. Maybe like other matchups, especially maybe ZVT can be extremely, you know, or DVT. Oh my goodness, how much that can sway. But you know, PvP a lot of times it's just like I killed half your Colossus. You actually are going to lose here in a second when I do my follow-up attack.
Yeah, I mean the Colossus count going into it was actually 2 greater for Choya, and he comes out of it afterwards 2 down. Add on top of that, Squirtle still has 5 of his Immortals, which are actually so good at killing Colossi if they can get close enough. So now Choi is in a really rough spot. Once again, he had found a nice way to equalize earlier with some economic damage that was being done, but now Squirtle's in a great spot.
Yeah, it's 200 supply to 152. Not much of a chance here for Choi to hold this off. Squirtle pushing forward right now. The charge lot's getting in, and yeah, they're going to evaporate, but that allows the Colossi to close the gap, and Squirtle engaging with a ball of Colossus against a smaller ball of Colossus. Choya, guys, going to go down here to StarTale Squirtle. There's the GG.
GG, and Squirtle's won 3 games in a row, and he has tied it up. We're just 1 game away from deciding the set. Wow, great performance from Squirtle.
It really was. Choya had some cool openings there to start, but Squirtle with the Immortal advantage was able to, you know, it made it tough for Squirtle as I'm looking at Leenock, who's coming in next. It's time.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get any damage in with those Blink Stalkers, Kev, and he lost a couple of units, but a lot of it came down to that engagement where the Blink Stalkers came forward, picked off a Colossus, and he got a second one later. Some small losses translating into a big victory for StarTale.
That is game number 8. We're going to move into game number 9 here in just a second. We're going to run to a commercial break. When we get back, though, it's FXO Leenock going up against StarTale Squirtle to decide who takes the set.